The Filmmakers. The Filmmakers is actually a romantic ghost story. It's interesting because there's a lot of them out there. One of the movies I remember seeing when I was younger was a ghost story about a ghost that was in a lighthouse, and the woman was romantically involved with this ghost. But the Filmmakers is fantastical. It's about a lot of different things. Um, at the heart of everything, it is a ghost story. Ibsen wrote a play called Ghost, and Oswald was one of the main characters in it. If you watch some of the posts, I do mention the sun. The moon is also mentioned. In Ibsen's Ghost, the last thing that Oswald says is, "Mother, bring me the sun," because of he was an artist. Oswald's an artist. You have to read Ibsen's Ghost. The Filmmakers, plural, the Filmmakers, has a character in it named Herby Keller, which is who I am. It's debatable if everyone in it is a ghost or not. Rainey Love's character is connected with Herby Keller in a very close, intimate way. And Val Dedman is a ghost. He says in the script that I am not here, I am a ghost. So the Filmmakers is fantastical. Now, there's two things, okay, that I'm bringing together: narrative, documentary. So when you think of Filmmakers, you have narrative, a narrative story. So all you filmmakers know what that means. It's a narrative story. It's a written story, has a plot and character. Documentary, a lot to do with style, but also capturing the real moment. Narrative, documentary, together, right? Herby Keller is a filmmaker. Val Dedman is a filmmaker. Rainey Love is a filmmaker. There's three characters. Anywhere the car goes, we have a lot of documentary. Anywhere the car goes is a room, or it's a location. Okay, I don't want to say room, but more like location. So if the car can go somewhere, that's a location. The balcony, the pad. It's a hip way of saying the townhome or the apartment complex or whatever. The pad, right? Like a frog on a pad. The garage, okay? The balcony, the pad or the apartment or the townhome, the garage, and the car are the main focus locations or the main locations of the filmmaker. But of the Filmmakers, which is an indie movie. Okay. Regardless of the attempts of all the narrative and fiction I can put into it, I've decided to do what Francis Ford Coppola wanted to do, which is to join the two. So Brecht is involved. Am I Cole Spivey? Well, yes, I am. Am I Herby Keller? Sure. Is Linda Rainey Love? Appears to be. Daniel. Okay. All this, he's Val Dedman. And you can see scenes with Daniel, and you can see scenes with Herby and Rainey and things like that. I have chosen to make Val Dedman, who Daniel is playing. I'm not releasing his full name. I mean, it's Daniel Wan, but I'm not really releasing the full name on everything because of the Brechtian aspect. And I know Daniel's like, what? But Val Dedman is a ghost in the narrative layer of the Filmmakers. Daniel Lunt is a real person playing Val Dedman, who appears in the nearby field by the pad or the townhome. I know when we use language, especially in Texas, okay, very important, but you have to realize that when I studied Shakespeare back in Wesleyan, they compared the way that Texans used language in the same ballpark as Shakespeare. Okay? Texans are very colorful with language. So when I say pad, I mean freaking apartment complex. Because it gets so hot here and we get so bogged down in the things that we're doing in work and the things that we're doing, we find different ways to say words for things and the way that we say it. So pad, apartment. I don't know if it's a Texas thing, but you know, kind of the link letter, you know, poetic, link later, poetic kind of way of speaking, slacker kind of thing. Is this kind of a slacker kind of? Well, is it narrative? No, not all narrative. Where am I going to mesh narrative or narrative with documentary and bring them together? A little bit. Am I ever going to play Cole? Yeah, but Herby is kind of the idea because narrative is going in this direction, documentary is going in this direction, and they're kind of mixing. Now, a lot of people are like, can you do that? We don't know. Coppola has expressed interest and seen if we can mesh the two and revolutionize the script. Okay? Lynch is like, whoa, hang on. Everything must be scripted, Cole, right? Because I met him. I talked with David Lynch. Me and David Lynch, we had a conversation. Everything must be scripted. True. But you have to realize, even in plays, even Tennessee Williams going all the way back, some things that were going on stage later got copyrighted, right? Things were found and they went backwards rather than forward, or forward rather than backwards in certain times. And they found that this play needs to change a little bit, and it's going to go right into the script. This screenplay can change a little bit and go right into the copyrighted script, right? Every script has gone through that in a little bit, just a little bit. Even Lynch would admit a little bit that when they go back and they copyright the script and they sell it at Barnes and Nobles or on Amazon, some of the movie, right? It's cinema is a shapeless form, and it sneaks into the script. It must do that and change. Listen, when I saw Francis Ford Coppola making, I don't wrap this up, making Apocalypse Now, I mean, I wasn't there. I mean, I don't even know how old I was when Apocalypse Now was going on. But when I saw Hearts of Darkness, the documentary about Apocalypse Now, I'm seeing Coppola over there talking to his wife, typing and going, Dennis Hopper's, you know, blah, blah, this, and then he's all of a sudden typing, and he's talking about the photographer for Dennis Hopper, and this is where, and he's right there on the set, right outside, probably, in my mind. He was somewhere close, but he was creating Dennis Hopper's dialogue and what Dennis Hopper was going to do in Apocalypse Now, and he would watch Hearts of Darkness, Francis Ford Coppola, brilliant director. And he's sitting there coming up with what Dennis Hopper is going to do when he's playing the photographer in Apocalypse Now. And that's meshing a little bit of what's going on right now with the narrative. Because Dennis Hopper was a wild kind of Arlecchino character, you know, this wild thing that he had to sit there and mesh. Daniel's kind of a raging, I don't know, atheist or something. I don't know. Really, I think Daniel's a Christian, but I don't know. I don't know Daniel's heart. Only probably God knows Daniel's heart. I'm not to judge anyone for their beliefs and their religious beliefs, but Daniel's a raging. He's an actor, so he's into it. But the idea behind him is that he's a real person, and I'm writing this thing, so I have to consider the real person and the character. I can't sit there as the writer go, do, when the person is alive and changing. It's a shapeless form. I think that's the right way to say it. It's a shapeless form. So the Filmmakers, it is a film. It is a documentary. It is a narrative. And like a railroad, they you have the documentary and you have the narrative. It's always going to be like two different things, okay? But can they come together and the story still unfold? That's going to be one heck of an editor. And let me tell you one thing about editing. I studied under Diane Salinger when I was in Los Angeles, when I was in Beverly Hills, or I'm sorry, West Hollywood, Mulholland Drive area. And we studied off of Mulholland Drive with Diane Salinger, who studied with Stella Adler. And we studied in the house of the man that edited the Harrison Ford film Witness. And I saw his Oscar on the shelf. I don't know if you're supposed to touch it or not touch it or whatever. I was respectful to it. He edited a wonderful film called Witness. Wonderful. It was a wonderful film. It was a wonderful, amazing, exact, specific, genius editor. Very exact and very, skillful editor. I saw him one time when I used to help Diane Salinger by cleaning the house or going in the backyard and doing the whole Stella Adler thing where you work and then you get acting lessons, because I couldn't always pay her, but I did pay her some, but I couldn't always pay her. So she's like, okay, Cole, I'm going to put you to work. Go over there and you're going to pick plums and put this oil on this tree. And she had this weird tree sitting thing that was like a chair that was also a tree in her backyard. I always told Diane Salinger she should play the best witch out there. I think she's the voice over one of the voices for Dante Inferno. Dante Inferno, the video game. But when I saw the man come out, he came out in his bathrobe to fetch his newspaper. And I was getting out of my sister lent me her white Camaro. And it was her Camaro at the time that I drove to Los Angeles to study with Diane. And that's just the way God had it happen. And I got out of the Camaro and I looked at this man. And it's like, this man I'm looking at has an Oscar for editing. My goodness. And he just kind of looked at me like I was this poor little rabbit in their front yard. And I was looking at him. And I just kind of wanted to say, I promise, Diane, she's only an acting teacher to him. She was only an acting teacher. But anyway, I ended up in the actor studio. But I'm back here now, and so I'm dealing with some stuff that Coppola wanted to try to get to. Look, I know you know I'm a nut. I know you think I'm a nut, okay? But that's one thing, okay? That's one thing. Cole's a nut. Well, so what? A lot of people are. But, I mean, that's part of what Herby is. I just slide right into Herby. Herby's a nut. He pitches all these films. He talks about M. Night Shyamalan and the Village, and he's talking about all this weird stuff and all these movies. He's talking about all these movies he's done before. And it's part of what makes him maybe a ghost, like Beetlejuice or something. I'm also kind of thinking about a lot of words and things like that. And Beetlejuice is something that comes to mind, these ghosts living in an attic kind of thing. But Val Deadman is a ghost in it, for sure. If they're all ghosts, that's your opinion, But that's what I wanted to come across and say in this 14-minute post about the Filmmakers.